guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we'll discuss how can a cancer be triggered by the activation of endogenous retroviruses. So in my previous video we discussed about a tumor virus which we called as RSV. So we had discussed about everything related to RSV. So in this video we'll be discussing how a cancer can be triggered by the activation of these kinds of viruses. So moving on with this. So all of it, the research began in Japan by Katsusa Buro Yamagiwa in the first decade of the 20th century, which revealed that chemical agents could induce cancers in the laboratory animals. As mentioned earlier, his work showed the repeated painting of voltas on the ears of rabbit yielded skin carcinomas after months' time. So by the middle of the following decade, a PhD thesis in Paris documented more than hundreds of cases of human cancers, largely of the skin individuals who had worked with X-ray tubes, and in both cases it was clear that the agent that directly provoked the tumors were non-biological, being either organic or chemical radiation. So this was the starting period when we started to understand how a cancer is induced, how a cancer is developed, and how a people is suffering from cancers. So they somewhat came to a conclusion that these were not the biological agents, or these were not certain infections that led to cancers, but these were something chemical agents or something related non-biological things that had affected them. So these discoveries were well known to all cancer researchers by the mid 20th century and were hard to reconcile with the theory that all cancers are triggered in one way or the other by the action of infectious agent, that is tumor viruses. So they were not pretty much clear that cancers are triggered by tumor viruses or not, because they had found that there were certain non-biological agents which can be organic, chemical or radiation which induced cancers. With this, so responding to this, some adherents of the virus theory of cancer, especially those working with retrovirus, proposed a new mechanism in the early 1970s. So their model explained how tumor virus could participate in the formation of many cancers that had no output sign of viral infection. So now what happened that when we started to understand that cancers could be caused by tumor viruses as well apart from non-biological agents. So the researchers started to work on how tumor viruses caused cancers and how is the mechanism related to our cancer cells. So this new scheme derived from the peculiar biology of retroviruses. So on occasion, retrovirus genomes became integrated into the germline chromosomes of various vertebrate species, and the resulting proviruses are then transmitted like Mendelian alleles from one generation to the next. So what they did was they transfected the particular DNA from one organism to another, which I'll be showing in a diagram. So more often than not, these endogenous proviruses are transcriptionally silent and their presence in all of the cells of the organism is not apparent. On rare occasions, however, it is possible to awaken the expression of such latent endogenous proviruses, which often retain the ability to encode infectious retrovirus particles. Let's just talk how this particular activation of these viruses takes place which induce cancer. So activation of these particular virus genome in fibroblasts prepared from certain stains of mice can be accomplished by culturing these cells in the presence of a particular agent, which is thymine analog bromodioxyuridine or BRDU. In response, these connective tissue cells, which were ostensibly free of retroviral infections, suddenly began to release retroviral particles due to the transcriptional de-repression of the normally silent endogenous proviruses. So what we understand from here that we will activate these cells, and this is done mechanically by in the presence of this particular analog, which we know as thymine bromodioxyuridine. So when these particular cells are cultured in the presence of these particular analogs, these cells began to release the retrovirus particles which become transcriptionally active. So similarly, latent endogenous proviruses may be activated spontaneously in vivo in a small number of cells in a mouse, and once infected virus particles are released from these few cells, they can multiply by cell-to-cell infections spread rapidly throughout the body and induce leukemias in the animals. So knowing this behavior of the endogenous retrovirus, some suspected that human cancers might arise in the similar fashion. For example, mutagenic carcinogens such as those present in tobacco, tar, might provoke the activation of previously latent endogenous retrovirus. So this particular entire experiment was considered on animals such as mice or nude mice, which are optimum or which are made for experimentation before trying it on humans. So they particularly came to a conclusion that the activation is very important for any particular virus to act upon. So the activation of endogenous virus was carried out mechanically, and they found that when the activation of these particular viruses are done, they induce cancer cells, or they provoke the cancer cells to multiply more and more and infect the particular organism. Alright, so moving on. So it became very clear that most endogenous retrovirus genomes present in the human genomes are the relics of ancient germline infection that occurred 5 million years ago and earlier in ancestral primates. So it was very much clear that the human genomes also had these particular endovirus or endogenous retroviral genomes or retrovirus, which were transcriptionally inactive or silent. So thus they were not infected with cancer cells, and once these retroviruses are or they become transcriptionally active by consumption of such as tobacco or any other chemical stuff, so these particular retroviruses induce cancer cells and thus multiply in them and thus bring cancer in the humans. So all humans contain a endogenous retroviral genome which are inactive in nature, and these need to be activated by consumption of such harmful substances. So since that time, these proviruses mutated progressively into sequences that were no longer capable of specifying infectious retrovirus particles, and thereby joined the ranks of the junk DNA sequences that form the bulk of our genome. So they were named as the junk DNA sequence because they were no good to human beings, because they were the reason we suffered from cancers. Alright, they were the reasons most of us suffered, or most of the human beings, or around 70% of the world population is suffering from cancers. So this is a huge reason for people suffering from cancer. So these are termed as the junk DNA sequence because they are no good to humans. So even though as much as 8% of the human genome derived from endogenous retroviral genomes, and only several of the approximately 40,000 retrovirus derived segments have been shown to be genetically intact and capable in principle of specifying infectious virus particles. So these are some of the stats related to that. So talking about this transfection of DNA, which provides a strategy for detecting the non-viral oncogenes. So we'll detect some of the non-viral oncogenes, and which I'll show you the diagram which I was talking about previously. So to determine whether non-viral oncogenes existed in chemically transformed cells, a novel experiment strategy was devised. It involved introducing DNA of cancer cells into normal cells and then determining whether the recipient cells or the cells which are taking the cancer cells became transformed in response to the introduced tumor cells or not. So such transformation could be scored by the appearance of foci in the cultures of recipient after several weeks after the exposure to the tumor cells. So what it is doing, that it is introducing a cancer cell to a normal cell, so transfecting a cancer cell to a very normal cell. So how will we recognize that this particular normal cell is infected with cancer cells in exposure and in the presence of the cancer cells when they are transfected? So this will be confirmed by presence of locis in the culture. So presence of these circles or locis, of these certain locis that are present around the normal cells, which would indicate the presence of or the growth of cancer cells, and thus these normal cells will be transformed into cancer cells. So this is a very simple experiment that is used for understanding the nature of these cancer cells and understanding how these cancer cells work against the normal cells. So here's a diagram for you, so which starts with the chemically transformed mouse fibroblasts. So it's a chemically transformed mouse fibroblast which has the DNA. So we take the DNA out of them, and then we transfect using calcium phosphate co-precipitation procedure. So after we take out the DNA out of the mouse fibroblast, we transfect them with calcium phosphate co-precipitation procedure, and after that normal mouse fibroblast are poured into it or added into that. So this particular stuff is the cancerous one. So this thing, in this the mouse fibroblast, or which is a chemically transformed mouse fibroblast, are the cancer cells in general, because they are chemically transformed and now they are transfected with calcium phosphate and then they are added to normal cells. So when the formation of a focus or morphologically transformed cells, so when these two are added, they are added to a particular organism, in this case is mouse. So when a normal cell and a chemically transformed cell or a cancer cell is mixed together and injected into an organism, so this particular organism develops a tumor or develops a foci in general when we observe under a microscope. So let's just keep this video till here. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a big thumbs up, and stay tuned, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Thanks for watching.